I would be taking like 40-something Percocet and then 20 Xanax bars. But I remember I would take 10 at one time, swallow, because I didn't want to throw them up, of course. And then Ambien at night, and I still couldn't go to sleep, and I would drink a bottle of NyQuil, and finally that would knock me out.
What's going on, world? It's your favorite podcast, built by the Red Stick. Your boy, Michael Oakley. Ronnie LaDuff's out again. He's got some medical issues. Y'all send a prayer up for my guy. We're excited to be joined. I think I mentioned last week that it was the last week of our Meet Your Sponsor series, but I reserve the right to be wrong. Doesn't happen all the time, but here we are. Michael, wrong again. We got one more week. I'm going to enjoy this one. So before we start our starting, do me a favor. Go ahead, smash the subscribe button. Like, give us a share. Give us some love. It doesn't cost anything to show us some love. But we're going to get a word in from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with you.
Addiction and mental health don't discriminate. They touch families, friends, and loved ones from every walk of life. For many, it feels like crisis. But it doesn't have to end there. At Victory Addiction Recovery Center, our mission is simple: to save lives and improve the lives we touch. For over 13 years, we've walked with more than 5,000 people on their journey to recovery, meeting them where they are and building a plan that fits their unique needs. Here, recovery is more than treatment. It's compassion, honesty, and perseverance lived out by a team that's both professionally trained and personally passionate. With programs that span medical detox, residential treatment, outpatient care, and specialized support for veterans and professionals, Victory provides the tools, structure, and community that empower lasting change. Victory is more than a center, it's a family. From alumni services to weekly family support groups to ongoing education in our community, the care doesn't stop when treatment ends. The connections built here ripple outward, healing individuals, families, and communities. No matter where you are on your journey, you don't have to face it alone. Victory Addiction Recovery Center is here, ready to help you take the first step toward healing and a healthier future. Because recovery is possible, and it starts with you.
And just like that, we are back at it. Like I said, we got our last meeting with a great Victory staff that we've had back to back to back. Tell Drake we got him going back to back. We've got the one, the only, Mr. Rafe in the building. What's going on, my guy? How are you?
Dude, I'm good. I'm a little nervous. I'm excited. Kind of see where this goes, man. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity.
No nerves, man. We just gonna chill. The people love you because you're with us. They love you.
I work with it.
So before we get into everything and stuff, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, and then we'll kind of just dive into it.
Yeah, man. So name's Raphael Luneau, originally from Colleen, Louisiana. Shout out to 107.
Where?
Dude, Colleen.
Where the French toast is that?
So you know how people are like, I'm from Baton Rouge, but they're really from Denham or Dallas. So I'm from Pineville area. So I'll tell people Pineville.
Okay.
And then usually they're kind of like, oh, shit. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But Colleen, shout out to 107. I grew up on the highway 107. But, yeah, man, that was like our street, dude. That was our thing. And
it was the only highway there.
That was it, man. But we got like $5 Generals. So we're booming, dude. We're not.
I got a Walmart?
No.
Where's the closest Walmart?
About 20 minutes away.
Oh,
yeah, man.
I mean, sometimes the closest Walmart in Baton Rouge is 20 minutes away, but that's traffic.
Yeah, I was about to say it's like around the corner, but you got to go through all that. No, man. And so, I grew up there and, did my whole thing when it came to the drugs and alcohol scene.
Yeah.
And one day, man, decided I wanted to actually get help. Tried it before, but, people pleasing. Going with the parents, what they wanted me to do. And so my dad found Victory online and called him up, and I was detoxing on his couch, man. And I was like,
what were you using?
Xanax, anything pill related, man. I mean, anything and everything, but mainly like Xanax, Ambien, Percocet.
Oh, you was trying to
Oh yeah.
fucking sleep.
Oh yeah, man. No, and dude, I think this is why I didn't age as bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, dude,
That's
like,
fucking great.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, well, it could have, you know.
Listen, we are not condoning the use of illicit substance to not
Definitely don't.
age.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely don't. You know what I mean? But so my dad had called him, and I remember he's like, all right, they can get you in tomorrow. I'm like, well, what about like, you know, the day after, dude? Like, you know, I'm serious, but like also,
I'm not that.
yeah, you know, and I'm detoxing, eating Dairy Queen ice cream, surviving. And so anyways, I go to Victory, man, January 27th of 2021. And
Oh, yeah. Congratulations.
yeah, man, sobriety date, January 28th of 2021. And man, I just had a lot of help. So scared, dude. I remember they put the ankle monitor on me, and I went straight back to my juvie days. And I was like, oh, dude, okay. All right, we're okay. You're okay. You chose to come here.
Wait, they put an ankle monitor on
Yeah,
you?
just to make sure you're, you know, like they had these little cues that we do. And so just to be able to know, like, okay, they're alive.
Oh, that's pretty
there.
cool.
Yeah, man. And I might be explaining it horribly, but anyways. And so they put that on you, and then, you know, they throw you to the clients, and man, I was so scared. But anyways, 4 years later, they ended up giving me the keys to the place to come work there. Which
Hell yeah.
I mean, look, it's
It's a beautiful story.
It's cool, man.
So you made like that wasn't your first time in treatment?
No.
Okay. How many times did you go?
So, man, inpatient twice. Now, outpatient, I couldn't even tell you, man. Somewhere around like 5, I would say. Could be lying, man. I just can't remember specifically.
And how old are you?
I'm 34.
34. Okay. And so got sober at 30. If my math's
29.
29. Because you're about to make 5 years, right? Okay.
Yeah.
In January of 26, you'll make 5 years.
Yes.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
My one of my mentors always told me, you know, you don't get no walking around sense. The old timers used to say you don't get no walking around sense until you hit 5 years sober. So you're about to get there, man.
Dude, you know that's funny because someone told me that my first year, and I'm like, well, after I get a year, I'm not a newcomer, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. And then like looking back at it, I'm like, yeah.
Oh, dude.
That 5 years, maybe he was right.
I started working in recovery, and I'd been in and out of like treatment and all of this, like been in and around recovery for about 5 years before I actually got sober. But I started working in recovery at like a year, and I started progressing and doing like some clinical stuff and doing stuff at about 2 years and everything, and administrative stuff around like 2 years. And I always tell people, like, because I knew a lot, like I knew a good bit. But if like 5 year sober Michael saw like 2 years sober Michael, he'd probably kick his ass. And continuing, right? Like as I've got, I'm like, God damn, you know, you really, it goes back to like what it talks about, like constantly more will be revealed to us. And that's the crazy thing about this, you know, fun journey that we call sobriety. So anyway, you get 4 years, and now you're doing your job with Victory. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get into some personal stuff. So what are you doing at Victory?
So right now, man, I'm the Alumni Coordinator and Events Coordinator.
Okay.
And basically, dude, I get to know the clients, man.
Yeah.
And basically, when they come in, I like to, you know, introduce myself to them when they're detoxing, but not getting the too much, you know, because they're like,
who the fuck is this guy?
You know, and I'm like, I get it, dude. I'm not going to try to push anything on them, but I do like to welcome them. And then after that, man, I usually like to bust their chops, dude. I don't like to take it too serious with them, because they're already taking a lot of things extremely, which is important, you know, the whole part of this process, but, you know, they're taking all these other things too really seriously, and I'm like, man, you know what, let your hair down a little bit.
Let's introduce the fun aspect to it.
Yeah, and so, man, I like to go in there and just, you know, shoot the shit with them, aggravate them a little bit, and we'll just come up with little things here and there, but building relationships with them when they get in there, and I like it a lot because it's almost like a challenge to me. Like, how can I be this person's friend?
Right.
And that's what the way I look at it.
How can I infiltrate their life and affect it positively?
In a positive way. You know, used to, it's like, how can I get this money from said person? And, but it's funny, like, how, like, man, I'll be able to have the opportunity to do it, and then you never know how these relationships work out. And the next thing you know, I'm like, man, I'm so grateful that I get to have these conversations with this guy.
And are you living in the Lafayette area?
Yes.
Okay. the cool thing about, man, I love the Lafayette recovery scene. It's doing really well right now. I got a buddy who lives out there, owns a sober living out there. It's always full. I wonder what. No. But no, he and like I've gone out there and done some different, speaking events and stuff like that, and it's just such a great area. So like, how do you find that like that area is receptive, and especially y'all's clients is receptive to y'all's alumni program? Because alumni programs are like a huge asset in the recovery world, because in order to cut down on like the recidivism or the retreads and stuff, like having a involved alumni program and actually like reaching out to these people and doing your calls at, the 3-day, I don't know what y'all's is, but normally 3-day, 7-day, 1 month, 2 month, and so forth and all. And then the events, like, how do you find that that's helped with the client's transition to long-term sobriety?
So there's a couple things. That's a good question, man. But I like to think of it as attraction rather than promotion. And so if I'm doing the deal and they see me out there doing the deal, they're kind of more attracted to it. And of course, you have your call list where, you want to hit certain marks, but you also want to put a hat on a head. Like, right. Some people don't want to be bothered like that. So, thankfully, like, maybe we'll hit each other up on like a text message or whatnot. But for me to stay connected with them and to push them into recovery even more, I look at it like a bridge, like from treatment to recovery. And how can I like help this person and give them the maximum service and kind of guide them, man. It's really cool because I'm always like, man, I'm really more recovery than victory. However, you have that thing of like spirituality and finances don't mix.
Yeah.
So you have to know the line.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, so they go out into the program and I try to get them, connected with either, maybe it's a sponsor, maybe it's a home group, so they can dive in and they can see it for what it is, man. I think our community in Lafayette it's phenomenal, dude. When I got there, I just fell in love with it, and I remember in the beginning we were in treatment, and the guy that before me he was a coordinator, but we were in treatment together, and we were talking about, and he's like, "Man, where are you gonna go?" And I'm like, "I'm thinking about going back to Pineville." And then Peter was like, "Well, maybe Baton Rouge," and I'm like, and he's like, "Why don't you come to Lafayette?" And I'm like, "Well, why, man? I don't know. I wanted to stay sober. I had no idea about recovery." And he was like, "Well, the food is amazing and the women are beautiful." And I was like, "Dude, that's perfect.
I'm here.
I'm here."
You have sold your boy.
Yeah. And then recovery, man, it took a hold on me, man. And I'm grateful it did, because there's no way in hell I'd be where I'm at today without it.
Absolutely. And so another thing that I want to kind of touch on work-wise, because I just find it a pivotal part of like the culture of recovery in a facility, right? So like, people who work in, treatment world understand that recovery and treatment are normally two separate things. The treatment aspect is me, normally trying to first get you physically right, and then kind of start working on the mental aspect. 30 days isn't enough, so we're going to refer some type of aftercare program, of course. But then also the suggestions always made to like get involved in like the recovery community. And so the event coordinating and stuff. So like, what are some of the things that y'all do on that aspect of the events? What are some of the things y'all have done, and what are some things y'all have coming up?
Yeah, man. So we'd recently, actually in September, we have partnered with a Pelican roofing company.
Okay.
And so we came together and we were like, I want to do it big, because it was recovery month.
Absolutely.
And I want to make sure that's like our staple. Every recovery month, we're going to do something big. And so got the alumni together, man. They were willing. They wanted to help out. And it's such a team effort, man. That's the coolest part about it. They make my job so much easier because the alumni love to be a part of, thank God. And so anyway, so we put on a recovery event. We had three speakers, two speakers, and then one was a keynote speaker who did a TED Talk a year or two back. And so he had talked about recovery. And then we also had a sauna and a cold plunge. And so it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And of course, alongside with 337 food, man. I mean, that's really all you need, man. And we did it for about 4 hours. Had a great turnout. It was around about easily over 100. I would say about 120 around there. And yeah, man, it was just a really great event. So we like to do an event once a month now. I like to do a big event, then small, then
Right.
big. Give yourself time to prepare for that, and also make sure you're getting your guys hyped for it. 'Cause
Absolutely.
once you do a big event, the next event's not going to be nearly as big. You got to understand where you're coming from and who you're connecting with, and so November, we're going to do a Friendsgiving at our facility, and then Christmas, we're going to have a huge Christmas party. Gearing up to January, still haven't figured January out. I'm sure Corporate's going to love that.
Yeah.
And then,
all right.
and then February, we're going to do a sober grawl thing where we set up tents.
Absolutely.
Everyone, go out there, have food, have fun. It's sober. You're safe. If it's your first ever one, you know that you have people around you that understand.
And for those of y'all might be crushing the best kept secret in Louisiana, but for those of y'all who are maybe outside of Louisiana, because those in Louisiana know, but those of y'all who are outside of Louisiana, real Mardi Gras doesn't happen in New Orleans. I mean, yes, they have some cool parades and everything, and it's all the tourists and everything, but locals don't go to New Orleans for for Mardi Gras. They go to Lafayette.
Yeah.
Lafayette has the events for Mardi Gras.
Dude, I'm telling you, Lafayette's slept on.
It's very much slept on.
It's a great city, man. It's got the small town vibe with a big city vibe at the same time. It's a good, I don't know, it's a great combination for me, man.
There's and I mean, I don't know if they have anything. Has ULL introduced any collegiate recovery or anything?
So I know that we had used to do a little event over there. We'd get a little tailgate going over there, and that's something I need to personally bring back. One, give me a reason to go watch a UL football game.
Absolutely,
football, man. But yeah, and also because I like to bring different events to the whole thing. I don't like to do the same old. For instance, we partnered with doing a basketball tournament recently this past year. Then we did a kickball tournament. So we're also doing things where you're getting outside and getting physical activity out there.
Well, I hear pickleball's on the rise.
I know.
You can host a little. You should do.
It's intense.
You should do a 2-sided bracket, staff, and then and alumni. And then the winner of the alumni bracket versus the winner of the staff bracket for name,
See, and they're gonna be wondering that. I'm like, hey, what about that pickleball thing?
Yeah, I'm putting them on the spot, corporate.
Yeah, dude.
Look, we're giving ideas over here at Built by the Red Stick. So cool, man, and so it's awesome that y'all are doing some great work, in the community. A little bit about yourself, kind of what are some of the things that led you to the depths, right? Because our whole platform is about overcoming adversity and thriving in a new life and a new way and all of this stuff. So in order to highlight what we're doing now, it's important that we, identify the things that kind of give, the listeners maybe still struggling some hope. So give me a little background about you, how you found your way to addiction.
Yeah. So I started out at a younger age, man, when it comes to taking pills. And so I was 11 years old. I started taking prescription pills. And I remember during that time I was going through a lot as a child. My mother and my father were getting a divorce. And my mother had moved back to her home state of Alabama. And, they were no, dude. Well, look, I hit the white trash lottery. I'm Louisiana Alabamian, dude. I'm
oh yeah,
it's insane. And so they were going through their separation, you know what I mean? And of course it wasn't on me, but in my head it was on me.
Right, at 11.
Yeah, and I grew up watching, Disney Channel and all this other stuff like that. So in my head, I had an idea what a family should be like, right? And so when they had got a divorce, I was like, this is the end of my world, man.
Right.
This is it. My sister was off in college in L.A., and so she was doing her thing. So it was just really me, and who was I going to decide to live with? That was a lot of pressure in my head for me. And I ended up choosing to live with my father, one, because me and my father already had this, connection built in a strange way, but also because I knew I could get away with shit, and so then I'd started taking prescription pills, man, at a young age. And I remember the first time, dude, taking this thing, and I was tripping, and I went under the covers, man, and it was like I was in my own little world, man. And I was like, oh, I need this.
I need this more.
This is how can we have this for the rest of my life? And then it went from, of course, one thing to another. And it didn't really get bad till during the late years of my high school years. I was dating my high school sweetheart at the time. And then I got my wisdom teeth taken out. And my mom went to Al-Anon, and dude, thank God for Al-Anon. At the moment, I couldn't stand Al-Anon. And, but no, she would say these things like, before she gave them to me, she was like, you might be allergic. And I took it, and I'm like, I'm not allergic. Actually, the opposite reaction, dude. I love it. And so I took it, and I loved it, man. But there was a part of me deep down that was telling me this is not good.
Right.
Like, I knew it wasn't good, but I had fell in love with it. And so anyways, fast forward with the high school sweetheart. She was moving to Georgia, and because we were just toxic, I was an untreated alcoholic addict, and my addiction started to get into. And I remember saying, would you still want to be with me? And dude, I had found my love at the time, and that was Percocet.
Yeah.
Painkillers.
Definitely wasn't her.
No, and I said...
You thought it was, but...
Yeah, dude. Well, and I was like, no, I'm good. And, of course, a year and a half later, I'll call her. I'm like, whoa.
Why'd you leave me?
Yeah. She was like, loser. But, yeah, and so it kept going, man. It kept getting more and more. And I remember in my 20s, man, that was really when it became a humongous issue where I was trying to aim for 50 Percocet a day, but I would get to like 48. Like, that's how sick I was in my head. Like, I was like, if I get
fell short.
Yeah, fell short. Yeah, dude. And it was, but I had the finance at the time because of my family, and so I would be taking like 40 something Percocet and then 20 Xanax bars. But I remember I would take 10 at one time, swallow because I didn't want to throw them up.
Yeah,
of course. And then Ambien at night, and I still couldn't go to sleep, and I would drink a bottle of NyQuil, and finally that would knock me out. And then I'd try to do it all over again the next day. But that stint didn't last too long. That was a lot of money going into all that. And then it became, all right, now I just need to survive.
Yeah.
For the longest. But yeah.
There's a more efficient way than 50 perks.
I heard, man. I heard about it, dude. But I was so scared. I was like, oh, that's dirty.
Yeah.
That's dirt. Yeah, well, it gets worse. That's
well, I always enjoy a good, crazy story. So what's like the craziest story that kind of like led you, not like crazy story of like fun, but like one of the craziest stories that led you to be like, because we all have, I perceive, and I could be wrong, but I perceive that everybody has that like moment where they're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
And so like, what was that moment for you? Like, what was this like epiphany? And then not necessarily getting sober, but like just this because I believe that most alcoholics and addicts, they know how fucked they are before they actually reach the point of being willing to get help. So, and I could be wrong with your story. Everybody's entitled to their own story, but some people, I believe, they get that one, oh, I'm fucked moment, and then they find sobriety. What's your like moment of like, this has me by the balls. This is controlling my life. This is my master.
Yeah, man. Oh, that's a good question. I was thinking about a lot of stories that had ran through my head, and I think it was just so many over the long period of time where I was just like, we could go on for hours about it.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, oh my God, it has got me by the balls, man. Like, I can't do anything about it. But I remember,
excuse me.
There's I'll bring up two stories to try to make it as quick as possible. It was Christmas Day, I think. Christmas Day. And of course I had been up all night on meth, and or the day before I was up on meth. Doesn't matter. It was one of those couple days. And then I had mixed Xanax with it to come down, and I was like bulletproof at that moment, in my head. And I'm just driving around. It's like 5 a.m, by the way. No one's up. Everyone's sleeping. It's Christmas. And I decide to pull into this neighborhood. And then I pull into this neighborhood, and I'm like, oh, my friend lives right there. And then it goes from my friend lives right there to let me go knock on the door and tell them Merry Christmas. To I'm waking up an entire family at 5 a.m. to tell them Merry Christmas. So in my head, they're like, hey. The reality probably was, oh, my God.
What the fuck are you doing?
Oh, my God. So somehow I get into the house, and the next thing you know, I'm opening up gifts. And I don't do it. Like, it's funny now, but it's also like, geez, dude, like,
What are you doing?
what is, like, you know what I mean? One of the most embarrassing things in my life. And, but yeah, in my head, in my delusion, I was like, this is okay. This is okay. And so clearly, if you've been listening to this podcast, do not do drugs and alcohol. And if you do, hit up Victory Addiction Recovery Center.
Absolutely.
But no, man. And so that stuff like that, man. But eventually it got to the point where I remember I had this hate-love relationship with God. I was raped and molested as a child. And so from that point on, of course, the divorce and, of course, all the other things. And, of course, life not going my way because whatever, X, Y, Z. And I had this really torn relationship with God. And I started praying about 2 months before I got sober. I would say about 2 months, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
And one day, I had one thing left in my apartment, and it was a Nintendo DS with Pokemon on it. Huge Pokemon fan. And I remember saying to myself, all right, once I sell this, I'm going to ask for help. Sold it. I think it was about 13 Xanax bars. Took them and pissed because it wasn't giving me the feeling I wanted. Called my therapist that I've been lying to for, God, I don't know how long. A great guy. And then called my dad, and I was like, I need help. And I think my dad was like, yeah. Shit. Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
Hallelujah, man. And but something that's really cool that my father used to do this prayer, man. He's like, you know, God, just take him. He's so suffering. Like, take him. But because of recovery, my dad doesn't say that prayer anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the power in the programs, man.
Absolutely. So to follow the timeline, right? Like your detox, you sold this Nintendo. You call your dad, you want help, and so I based off of the beginning of the story, you obviously go to his house, crash there a couple of days, get into Victory. You talked about the beginning of the stages, being freaked out. What do you think? Because I'm a firm believer, and you talking about God gives, I'm a firm believer that, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive, right? So, like, I know people who have been to the Taj Mahal of treatments and relapsed, and then finally went to, maybe a state-run facility or whatever it may be, but it was just their time. And so, like, what are some of the things that happened at Victory during your stay there? A, how long did you stay? And B, like, what are some of the things that happened? And what are some of the things that you feel were able to start, like, the treatment process on the clinical affair?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I agree with you. When we're ready, we're ready.
Right.
So we could get it done under a bridge if we're willing, because we're that obsessed.
Absolutely.
Once it flips to I'm ready to do this, I will go through hell and high water to get it done.
Absolutely.
And that's the same with our addiction. And but I'm really grateful that it was Victory, man, because when I got there, I remember day 2 or day 3, and as I recall, which again, I'm delusional, so this could be, you know what I mean? Like, this could be totally made up, but they were like, I think they were like, call your insurance company or something to make sure something's settled, or I can't remember maybe a doctor. And so I get on the phone, and my father's been my greatest enabler, my best friend. I love my father to death, man. And we have such an amazing relationship today. But at that time, I knew in my head, it was screaming, call your dad, call your dad, call your dad, call your dad, call your dad. I couldn't even hear what they were saying on the phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was so loud. And I knew that I had to hang up that phone as soon as I could and run out that room, because I was going to call my father and manipulate him to come get me eventually. If not that day, eventually, I was going to plant the seed. I knew how to do that, man. And so I hung up the phone. I ran out. I go in this meditation room. I'm pacing back and forth, crying, cursing at myself, saying all these horrible things. And you should have called your dad. And then Peter, who I don't know if I knew if he was my counselor or not yet. He came to me and he said, your dad told me to tell you he loves you and to give you this. And he gave me a hug, and I broke. And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, okay, this is real. Like, that was real.
Yeah.
That was a real feeling. And not just coming from Peter, but this whole spiritual thing of getting out of the way. I felt something. And typical alcoholic addict, I wanted more of it. It felt good.
Absolutely.
And then of course he asked me, he goes, "Would you like to call your father?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna wait like everyone else." And that was the first time for me character building.
Right.
Spoiler alert. I think it was 3 days later. I ended up using someone's cell phone to call my dad. But we made it 3 days longer, and it's progress, not perfection, right?
That's fucking great.
And so, but man, they started to say prayer, go pray and meditate, and I didn't know how to pray, and I'd ask this girl, "How do you pray?" And she had like a couple months ahead of me because she was in the nursing program. And she said, "Go get on your knees and be honest." And so I got on my knees, and I think I was in room 4 or 3 at the time. Shout out to Alumni. And I hit my knees, and I was like, "God, I fucking hate you, but I don't know what to do, and I need your help."
Yeah.
Some of the lines of that, I remember just being so real. Like, it was the realest thing I've said in my entire life, it felt like at that point. And I didn't feel this white lie. I didn't feel anything like that, but I kept doing it. And I started sharing in groups and opening up and being really vulnerable. And then I remember the first time it really started to click is another guy said, "I wouldn't have shared that without you sharing that." And I said, "Okay, I want more of that."
I see where this is going, yeah.
Yeah, and so I had an idea what this could look like, and what it could look like is freedom. And so I just kept doing it, even though I thought meditation was, I was so backwards thinking, "Oh, this is for hippies.
This is stupid.
This is stupid." What they're trying to tell me what to do, they're all in it for the money. All the things that you tell yourself, man. And man, I could not have been more wrong. And I fought tooth and nail over every other thing. Things that made no sense.
Yeah.
Just wanted control over whatever it could have been. And I remember it was around week 2. I had a reservation, and it finally had lifted. Because I knew if I went back to Pineville, I was going to get back eventually on sleeping meds, and I was going to go from there, man.
Yeah.
And I made a decision to follow Peter's suggestion at the time, which was go to sober living. Of course, his ass was trying to get me to go to like this other place in the Baton Rouge. I'm like, "I'm not going to those. Wait, meet me in the middle, man. I'm still running my life."
Yeah. Let's.
And Lafayette was it, man.
So, how long were you there?
35 days.
Okay, so we get to day 35. We've committed to sober living and stuff. So what was, that first year like?
It was a beautiful train wreck, man. It was so, I wish I could, I don't wish, but I also wish I could go back to those moments. How everything was so new. Everything was so fresh. You were a kid, man. Everything was just like, "Oh, man, a tree's part of God." You know what I mean, though, when you're you really hit a meditation.
Yeah, those new days, those early days hit different, especially when you're serious, and it's just like you said, you're seeing. The best way I can describe it, and I appreciate you bringing this up because it's helping me elaborate it. But the best way is like the wide eye of a child, right? Like the innocence of a child. Like you were talking before we started shooting, having a 19-month-old. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But so I have a 2.5-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Congratulations.
And to see the innocence and the joy and the simple stuff, now that you're bringing it up, reminding me of because early sobriety, you're an infant. You're an infant. Yeah. That's what it's why they you get a sponsor and you run things past them decision making wise because you're stupid.
You're below sea level.
Yeah.
You're below sea level.
And so that's a really cool analogy and a really cool, reference point of early sobriety. Another fun question I like to ask, especially because we've had the pleasure of interviewing a lot of people on, this platform on Built by the Red Stick, and never once have I interviewed somebody and I'm like, okay, they're stupid. Okay, I understand why they're doing what they're doing in life, especially people that work in the recovery field, right? Because anybody who knows anything about working in the recovery field knows that there's a ways that we can make a lot more money than what we make, doing it. And so it's always important to me to find when I'm, with articulate people, with, people that aren't stupid, with people that have drive, with people that are understanding of the disease of addiction and all of that, is to identify their why, right? Out of all the things you could probably be doing in life, you chose to enter, an underserved population, and enter working in the field of addiction. And with that becomes a powerful why, I believe, for most people, because I don't believe anybody who works in this field just does it for a paycheck. I just don't. There's probably some people that do work just for a paycheck, but everybody has their why.
It won't last long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I think I have multiple whys, and I kind of use them when I'm tapped out on one.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because look, discipline is king, man, no doubt. But like those motivating factors, without a doubt, push you through those toughest days, man, where you see a client struggling, and you can't force a square peg in a round hole. You can't. You can't. And so there's multiple whys. I want to be the best version of myself I can, and so I have this drive to like find out what the new avenue is for me.
Yeah.
And so, and also another why of like I love the people, dude. I love the people. I always wanted to hang out with the people that were drinking the can of Schlitz over the martinis.
Absolutely.
I love it, dude, and I like they understand me, and I feel completely real when I'm around another one, like another addict, alcoholic. It's just, this is who we are. Another why is I want my son to see, oh man, I want my son to see his dad doing right and living by principles and helping others. I want him to see that. I want him to know that, so that one day he does his own thing. I don't know what it's gonna be. I'm gonna try not to control it.
Yeah, of course.
But I want him to see that, and hopefully that instills some things into him, like my father and mother had done for me, that helping others is the way to go.
Well, and I think it goes back to a comment you made earlier, with the same reference point of like helping people find sobriety, right? Like if they see me doing it, they're going to be attracted to it versus me just telling them to do it. I find the same thing with my kids, right? Like if I show them joy, they're going to know joy instead of me just being like, find something that makes you happy. Okay, well, what the hell does that look like? Well, if I'm showing them like, okay, dad, makes sacrifices for certain things in order to find his own happiness, we can feel empowered to find our own happiness. So like it's a great reference point. It's a great why. And I relate on a deep level because that's I thoroughly enjoy seeing the light bulb come on. Like it's one of my I've made reference to this probably 100 times and like so many different episodes and everything, but like so many times people when you're entrenched and working in recovery, and there's a lot of things that you're gonna see. There's unfortunately death you're gonna see. There's sorrow. There's the new client coming in who's just beats a hell and back, and you're like, oh my God, and it just weighs on your heart. There's the people that do really well and then slip up, and then their pride and ego or their shame and guilt don't allow them to come back in, and that eats you up. But so often that 1 out of 10 or that 3 out of 10 or whatever it may be, that light bulb goes off. Me and Ronnie talk about it all the time. That's a high that you'll never experience from drugs and alcohol. And so like those things are why I kind of do what I do, but also, being that beacon of hope in somebody's life. And I don't say that with pride and ego of like, oh, I help all these people, because I have this analogy that I make with people is like, my job isn't to get anybody sober. It's not. I don't have that much power. My job is simply to plant a seed. Like I can't make that motherfucker grow. I'm not the water that waters the soil. I'm not the, thousands of years that's created the right environment for that plant to grow. I'm none of that. My job is simply to plant a seed and to watch God do the work. Yes. And that's the power of like, why? I don't know if that makes sense. I kind of rambled.
No. I was getting fired up over here, dude. I'm like, yeah, coach, let's go, man. Well, it's intoxicating for me.
Absolutely.
It's the limitless drug, man, for us. It's like, you want some more, man, go help a newcomer. Go make sure that they get guided, because that's really it. We're guides. And trying to find, I think, the perfect balance for me, because I see a lot of old timers. I feel like they lose the student aspect and just become the teacher, but being the teacher and the student, man, because you're teachable, but you're also being able to walk others through these experiences. And man, no, it's something Jalen Hurts had said it. I'm not an Eagles fan, by the way. Go Pats, go.
Go who?
Go Pats, go.
Oh, Pats.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you said Pack.
Yeah. No. Oh no, man.
I'm a Packers fan.
Oh no, shit, dude.
Yeah.
I used to grew up huge Brett Favre fan.
Well, that's so. People are always like, Michael, how did you become? And we're having a squirrel moment. Y'all know.
Okay,
y'all know what happens. Y'all know what happens here. People are always like, how the hell is a Louisiana kid who has the Saints in his backyard a Packers fan? Well, my first football experience was Brett Favre winning the Super Bowl. Like, that's the first game I remember watching. And so, like, I just fell in love with Brett Favre, which then led me to, follow the Packers, which then led me to, love Amon Green and Jermichael Finley and all these Packers players that came through, and then the Aaron Rodgers era, and now the Jordan Love era. We just do shit right, Yeah. And the Pats, they got lucky. No, I'm just playing.
Wow.
For a while.
Yeah. No, dude, Brett Favre, I'm not too much a fan of,
his after.
But loved Brett Favre when he had the helmet on, man.
Yeah.
And
I don't encourage his embezzlement of Medicare fraud.
But and oddly enough, the Super Bowl he won was in New Orleans against the Patriots in '96, I think it was, and but I loved what drew me to the Patriots was the colors in the '90s, dude. Like the powder blue with Bledsoe, and number 11 happens to be my favorite number. So
okay,
and then but I didn't really care.
Very serendipitous.
Yeah, and I didn't really care for football, which I can kind of tie in later, but Jalen Hurts has said this quote, and it's like, man, I had a purpose before anybody had an opinion of me, and most importantly, an opinion of myself. Dude.
Absolutely,
I got in the way of so many opportunities that, and even to this day, I still do.
Even in sobriety.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. Look, I listen to what I do as I say, not as I do sometimes, man. Because I'm not perfect, man.
No.
I am very flawed, and but
by the grace of God, do I get to maintain a semblance of stability.
Yes.
A semblance,
Well, it's crazy that, at one point in the beginning I could barely wipe my own ass, and literally now I'm wiping a child's ass. And I love it, man. I want to give a shout out my partner, man. Such a great partner, Mama Bell, man. And her being such a phenomenal mother to our child, man. She having a team like that, like I remember, because even time back to the first year of sobriety, I was chasing, took the drugs and alcohol away. And so I want
to add something.
Yeah, of course. And, and of course I, placed myself in positions to be harmed and all that other stuff. And no harm, no foul. I learned so many experiences to who I am today. And anyways, getting into this relationship with somebody that I was thinking about last night, I'm honored to be in, because, like, she believes in me. I've never felt that before, where I look over and they're looking at me like, I know you got this. Lead us, take us, you know what I mean? And we both switched that role too. And so even our house is a spiritual home. And I kind of got off track, man. I had a squirrel moment myself.
It's all good. We endorse we endorse squirrel moments here at Built by the Red Stick.
Love it.
The quote that you said, from Jalen Hurts, I had a purpose before anybody had opinion, is so powerful, because there's a meditation that I listen to, and it's a guided breathwork meditation exercise. And so there's like this deep breathing with these motivational quotes, and one of them is it screamed like, and it's just powerful to me. But it screams, the purpose is bigger than the pain, and there's a lot of pain that, as me and Ronnie have always brought up this topic, and this segue is that, like, just because we get sober doesn't mean we're shielding ourselves from pain or shielding ourselves from sorrow. We're learning how to cope with it in a different manner. And some of the biggest adversities that I've faced in sobriety have been what's built my character and built who I'm trying to become and working towards coming. And like you said, always being a student and a teacher and always being able to learn and always being present in the moment to like see a situation happen and experience the pain and understand the pain and feel the pain, so that the joy can thrive from it, right? Which is why, like, when we do these interviews, like, I want to know the pain. I want to know the, like, sorrow that we face so that the listeners can see, like, okay, this guy or this girl went through this pain, went through this sorrow, even if it was before sobriety, during sobriety, whatever it may be, and gets to the point where they're like, oh shit, right? Like, I've gone through similar things, or I'm going through similar things, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but there's hope at the end of the tunnel. And for me, it's always important to make sure that everybody knows that, like, that hope for me, and this is just an opinion on me, I'd probably be willing to guess that you're similar, but that hope for me is always guided in a power greater than myself. And the realization of, like, my purpose isn't of my own making, right? Like, my purpose of my own making was to be a degenerate slapdick who didn't give a shit who they stepped on, who they stepped over, to get what I wanted, when I wanted, and how I wanted it. But that was a selfish, uncentered, strictly ego-driven purpose to, like, fulfill my own needs. The purpose that I operate in today is given to me by God, and from that, I know that it's more than the pain that I'll endure chasing that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So what's next for Rafe? We talked about seeking to be the best version of ourselves and opening avenues. So, what do we have on the agenda for Rafe in the future?
Man, it's funny because my favorite experience is the next one, and that's the problem with the disease of alcoholism is that I got to stay in the moment. You know what I mean? In Rafe's ideal world, man, I don't know. When it comes to work relationships, man, I want to make sure that whenever I get done with this position, because I won't be there forever.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that it is so sturdy of a foundation the next person comes in that they won't have to put in as much work maybe, and they'll have the connections and it'll be laid at their feet. When it comes to, like, personal, man, working on financial responsibility.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? The ship's doing good, but I will sink it if I don't find, the ways of how I handle certain situations. And I like DoorDash. Let me tell you I love DoorDash.
I love DoorDash so much. I have a DoorDash pass.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
See, in my head, I'm like, how did you get? Don't tell me.
Yeah.
So working on that.
DoorDash is the devil.
No, dude, it really is. No, it's the same with Arby's, dude. Arby's sorry, Arby's. I don't know if y'all have anything with Arby's, but dude.
You're an Arby's fan?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, man.
I was about to say.
No.
I think I've ate Arby's one time in my life and I got sick.
That's
and
good.
I've never touched it again.
Yeah, man. I'm a huge. I'm definitely against Arby's, dude. I'm at the Arby's hater Facebook page.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding, man.
Arby's will never be a sponsor.
Yeah, no, good. Look, watch Victor. Like, dude, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Just about to sign this deal with Arby's. That'd be my fucking luck, man. And I'm like, what, really?
Really? I don't see the correlation there.
Yeah, but and so when it comes to the internal process of, like, man, growing up, man, I'm still a kid. I really am. Like, I'm still a kid. I wish I could say, like, I'm where I want to be and I'm not, but that's okay. I've learned to be more okay with that. But when it becomes emotionally and, more emotionally like an adult,
Yeah.
I can't even think of the word, but when it comes to that, man, that's I want to aim for. But I've been working out more. I love my runs.
I need to get in the gym,
Dude. It's
I did so well for a while, and then I stopped, and now it's just like finding the motivation to go back is like, I know. Wow. We're coming up on a wrapping it up, but, like, you talking about, like, personal growth and being a better man and all of that stuff, like, a question popped in my mind. Like, you had your son obviously at about 2.5 years sober. What do you feel that has contributed to that, like, the growth in life with him? Because for me, it was, so a lot of people know, some people might not know, like, my son was born on my sobriety date. I wasn't there. I was in treatment. I was told a couple of days after, and I was able to go visit him. And people always like, I'm a big proponent of like a step one experience, right? If we're looking at like a 12-step program, right? And not even necessarily like the wording of like powerlessness and unmanageability, but the spiritual principle that aligns with step one of being honest. And so like, my son was my step one experience of like actually being honest with myself for the very first time. Like I remember, I tell a story all the time, but I remember my counselor walking me around because when they asked me if I wanted to go see my son, my first response was no. And so my counselor walked out with me, and he walked in, he was talking to me. He said, "Michael, do you know what it's like to be a man?" And for the first time in my life, I was honest to myself that I had no fucking clue. I was a shy, insecure, scared little boy trying to operate like I was a man. And I always say like the importance of that is if I would have never identified that, I would have continued to identify that drugs and alcohol were my problem, not me. And so like, it's very profound to me that like having a child and being a man of integrity and being present in that child's life was like my thing. And so like to talk to a new father who's in sobriety, like I just, that question came to my head.
Yeah, man, it's everything. He, man, I every time like I look at him, and of course, you got those long days where you're like, oh, just get the hell, just go to bed.
Oh, absolutely.
And which is part of it, but man, he makes me want to be better in every avenue. And when it comes to things of, working out, work related, with the relationship with his mother, to honor these things and show up the best I can. Like my photo is always of him, and it's always giving me this look, and he's like, "What are you doing, Dad?"
Yeah.
In my head, like, "What are you doing, Dad?" And like, let's get, you know what I mean? And I've always had a really close relationship with my father, and I had this fear that me and him wouldn't be as close, you know what I mean? But I was comparing, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And me and my son's relationship is going to be me and my son's relationship, and to honor that the best way I can. And what that looks like for me is to show up in and out, every day, especially the days that are hard, where I'm depressed or I'm tired or, a client died or whatever it is, and leaning on, man, you know what, just one more moment at a time.
Yeah.
One moment at a time, man. Because I want him to see what something bigger than ourselves can do.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing in this world when you get connected to your God, whatever that looks like, that you can't do, man. There's nothing. And I'm just really grateful that he's able to see me like that, because before, man, it would have been a disaster. But I always felt like in my heart, it's kind of like ladies are always like, oh, the ideal wedding and all that. And I get that. For me, it was being a father.
Absolutely.
Like I always knew I would be a great father if I had the opportunity. And that's why I got a lot of good group of guys around me that are like, hey, 3 meetings a week, book studies, sponsees.
Absolutely.
Rinse and repeat, man.
The most profound quote that ever was told to me about fatherhood, was that days are long, but years are short. Shit. Yeah. Well, look, man, I appreciate you coming and sit down with us, chatting with us. We appreciate Victory for all the love and sending us, great people to interview. We'll, of course, as always, have all their information tagged in our description. If anybody needs to find you, what's the best way to find you?
Man, so look, go to our page. You can go to Facebook or just myvictory.com. I have a little column that talks about me. It has my number. And if anything that y'all need, reach out. We're here to help, man. We're here to guide y'all. And if you're struggling with the whole idea of like, I remember, what is my purpose and all these things like that, get sober, and I'm telling you, it'll fall right in your lap.
Absolutely.
Just get out of the way and just know that we're out here to help.
Absolutely. So as always, if you're listening and you're struggling and you need some help, whether it be mental health, substance abuse, anything, we're not hard to find. You can reach Ronnie LaDuff at Ronnie LaDuff on Facebook. You can reach me, Michael Axelrod Oakley, on Facebook. You can follow our TikTok, Built by the Red Stick, Instagram, Built by the Red Stick, YouTube, Built by the Red Stick, Facebook, Built by the Red Stick. We got our website, builtbytheredstick.com. You can email us. There's a million ways to get into contact with us, so don't be shy. Reach out, man. We are accessible. We love y'all. We want to love y'all till you can learn to love yourself. And as always, your boys will be back at the same time, same place, same producer. Built by the Red Stick. We love y'all.